everyone, so today's video, as you probably would have already guessed by the title, is how to revise for English language and literature at GCSE. Now for today's video, I am not going to be explaining to you guys how to revise, as I didn't really want to do many of these videos anymore just because I don't have any of my revision to show you. However, for today's video, I am working with Martin, who is an English teacher. He's also got his own website, Mr. H Online, and a YouTube channel as well. And today's video is going to be him answering a load of your questions and explaining to you guys things that you need to know for your English exams, what to revise, how to revise, everything like that, as at least he's got things to show you, and also is a teacher. It's got expert advice in there to really help you guys ace your exams. So yeah, as much as I love filming these videos, I just didn't have any English stuff to show you, which is obviously not the most helpful thing in the world, but Martin does. So before we get into his video, I just want to say he does have a website, and I've got 20% off code for you, which is Sophia X 20, so do head over there after this video. I did mention it in last weekend's video as well, so if you've already checked it out, well done you. And yeah, he's got some really cool stuff on there. There's some free things, but obviously you can pay for a membership each month and you can get access to like everything, and there's also some other revision guides, etc., which you can purchase. So using the 20% off code will probably be really useful for you guys. So I'm going to stop talking now and let Martin get on with the video. I really hope this is helpful for you guys, and if you would like me to do this again in the future for maybe a different subject, see if I can get another expert's opinion in, then please let me know, as I just think this is a really useful video. And without further ado, here's the revision tips.
Hi, first up, hello to all of Sophia's subscribers. Hope you're all doing well. She put out a request for questions that you might want answering in your English GCSE exams, and it was quite a healthy response. First of all, I'd like to say a hello to Hannah, Diane, Rose Gold, Charlotte and Harley for their rather broad request to help us with everything. How do I revise for English language and English lit? Yeah, no, I hear your pain, don't worry, and I hope to set about in this video addressing some of the issues you might have, although please do get back in touch with Sophia if you've got something more specific. For example, a few of you asked about the poetry anthology, and I'm not including that in this video. It was just taking too long, so I'm going to do a separate video for the poetry anthology. Sophia doesn't know that yet, but she does now. Okay, so today's hit list, I've written down everything because that's what some of you asked for. A reminder to head on over to mrhonline.co.uk for plenty more resources to help you ace the exams. That's my website. I'm putting up quizzes and so on every day. Okay, so let's crack on. Okay, before the specifics, I'm an examiner as well as a teacher. And the key or the buzz phrase from the examiners is method and meaning. So it doesn't matter what exam board you're following, across all the texts, the examiner's looking for you to cover the use and effect of language, form and structure. And within this, the buzz phrase is method and meaning. That's simply identifying techniques and or devices used and exploring their meaning and the impact they have. For example, I think most of you are doing an inspector calls, so I've used an inspector calls as my examples throughout here. Priestley's use of dramatic irony, there's your technique, there's your method. In an inspector calls allows the audience to see just how flawed the character of Mr. Burling is, and therefore also how flawed his capitalist ideas are too. So there's your method and your meaning, relevant for poetry and any literature text you do. So I will mention it a couple of times throughout the remainder of this video. Method and meaning, it's a buzz phrase. If you keep that in the back of your mind at all times, it will set you on the right path. Okay, so what's the best way to revise? I think the next, I've got someone with the Twitter handle DXYGU. I don't think that's the name. If it is, I apologise. But DXYGU, who asked, what's the best way to revise? Okay, so I've just put down a little kind of bullet point list to help you. The key word is variety. Now, I bang on to my students all the time. The best way to revise is to practice past exam questions. search them online or get them off your teachers. There's a load on my website, just exam questions, and just keep practicing under timed conditions the exam questions. It will highlight for you where the gaps are, where you need to improve, whether you can remember quotations or not. However, I do appreciate that can be quite repetitive and boring and mundane, and you do need to vary it up a little bit. So first thing, I think, get a revision timetable and stick to it. Now, I've just put a little revision timetable up here. Obviously, you're at school Monday to Friday, apart from the holidays. I say to my own daughter, come home from school on Friday, don't do anything related to school. You've had a long week, you've worked hard, give yourself Friday evening off. I've left Sunday free. That doesn't mean you take Sunday off. I've just kind of illustrated how you could fill in your Saturday, and you can replicate that for Sunday. In the evenings, 3-4 hours in the evening, but revision timetable does incorporate your homework tasks also. I mean, as we getting closer to Easter, hopefully your teachers are giving you revision activities as your homework, and that in your various subjects you're coming to the end of your course and you're starting to revise everything. I know in English that's certainly the case at my school. So again, 45 minute blocks. But balance it, vary the subjects that you use. Don't focus entirely on your favourite subjects. In fact, there's an argument to say that your least favourite subjects should get more attention because they need more work. But anyway, so just come up with a revision time. I mean, some of you, or most of you, maybe have done so already, and it's still not too late. We've got plenty of time, provided you use that time that's left efficiently. Okay, exam practice, as I've said, exam questions, that's a great way of preparing. Flashcards. I know my own daughter, she uses flashcards now, and I'll talk about quotations, how to revise or remember quotations later on, and I'll go through flashcards in a little bit more detail there. You've got mind maps. You can do mind maps of character and theme. You can incorporate flashcards into that. You can explode a quotation, so write a key quotation in the center of the page, and then link it to characters, to themes, to other quotations, to plot points, and so on. Just get a few. Are there any language features in? Are there any specific language choice that you think is significant? Just to a good way of revising whole text, but just using kind of individual quotations to do. And I've jotted down study groups there. I know some of my private students actually work together, online study groups, but also they meet up around each other's houses every so often and focus on a particular topic or subject that they're struggling with. Okay, so there's a variety of ways to revise, to break up your revision. Who's asked me tips for creative writing? Oh yeah, this is, and apologies if I get this Twitter handle wrong as well. S.Silapal. I don't know whether the name is maybe Opal, or I don't know. I apologise for butchering that, but thank you to you, because you've put forward like 4 or 5 questions, and I think your questions are covered over the next 4 or 5 screens. So excellent, thanks for that. And so the kind of focal point were kind of requests for tips for creative or narrative writing and writing for a purpose. So regardless of which exam board you're doing, section B will ask you to write on the non-fiction and fiction papers. So you'll have to do what's called transactional writing a letter, a speech, an article for your on the non-fiction piece. On some exam boards, you've got to do 2 of those questions. They're worth 20 marks each. On other exam boards, it's one question that's 40 marks each. But irrespective of whether it's 2 20 markers or 1 40 marker, the marks are broken down the same. It's the same skill set that the examiner is looking for in each exam board. So content and organisation is 24 marks of the 40, and technical accuracy is the 16 marks. So obviously, if it's a 20 mark question, it's 12 and 8 in each of the 2 20 mark questions, but the totals are still 24 and 16. So first thing I'll say is plan your answer. I've read every examiner's report from the last 10, 12 years. Each time, without fail, the examiners state that students who show evidence of planning routinely secure higher marks in the exam. It just ensures that your answer is structured appropriately and efficiently, and maximising the time that you've got. so your answer isn't jumping all over the place. It's a good solid structure to it. And if the examiner sees a little plan, a 3, 4, 5 minute plan on the actual question paper itself, it sets a positive impression for them also. So first thing you have to do is you have to gap the question. So genre, audience, purpose. So establish whether it's a letter, who you're writing to, whether it's formal or informal, and what's the purpose of it. And it's usually or often persuasive or to argue, okay? Ensure that your writing is engaging. It sustains the reader's interest throughout through the use of a range of ideas, examples, and structural features like discourse markers, connective. So, firstly, however, as a result of, there's a thread running throughout your answer. If writing persuasively, remember da forest or any other mnemonic your teachers have given you. Go on, quickly test yourselves now. Pause the video. Write down what persuasive features you can think of for da forest. There are 13 contained there. Pause it. Right, you're back again. How many did you get? Let's see. Direct address. 2 A's, alliteration, an anecdote, a little story, a personal experience to kind of reinforce your argument. F, fact. O, opinion. 3 R's, rhetorical question, repetition, research. 3 E's, exaggeration or hyperbole, emotive language, and expert opinion. Statistics for S, and rule of 3 or triplets, triplication for the T. If you're writing descriptively, think of the 5 MOPs. So 5 senses, so sight, sound, etc. Metaphors, onomatopoeia, personification, epithetic fallacy, similes, and so on. Okay. I should say yes. Do pause the video at any point if you want to jot down some notes. So that's the kind of 24 marks content and organisation. Then the 16 marks, now there's an overlap here. What I've written on this screen covers all of the 16 marks plus some of the structural aspects of the 24 marks from the previous screen. So all successful writing should contain a variety of, and that's the key word, I've emboldened it and made it slightly bigger and italicsed it, variety. So a variety of 5 things. Sentence structures, so shorter sentences to quicken the pace, build tension, longer ones to set the scene or describe setting or feelings. But a variety of sentence starters. Don't always start with the subject like he, she, they, and open a sentence with a verb or adverb. For example, nervously, he edged the door open, or instead of he edged the door open nervously. It just adds a little bit of variety. It's more interesting for the reader and it engages them more. A variety of paragraph length. So look, great, have paragraphs, that's brilliant. But even better if you can manipulate paragraph lengths for a specific impact. So, for example, you could have a single sentence paragraph. This could emphasize or highlight the turning point or climax in your story. Punctuation. Look to incorporate at least 4 separate punctuation points. So your exclamation mark, your question mark, you can have dialogue, ellipses, semicolon, but have longer sentences, will have commas in the right place and so on. Just keep an eye on that. And vocabulary, a variety of vocabulary. You must attempt a more ambitious vocabulary. Don't play safe. I've written plus accurate spelling, but you do get more credit if you try the more ambitious vocab and misspell it slightly than if you keep it safe and your writing's quite basic and simplistic, but the spelling's okay. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. So whenever my students hand me a piece of work, before an extended writing piece, I don't mark it straight away. I hand it back to them and I say, right, first of all, answer me the following questions. Read out your shortest sentence. Now, if they can quickly go to 2 or 3 shorter sentences, like 5 words or less, then great. If they're like, not sure I've got any, well, then they need to think about that for their next piece. Read out the first word in every line. I want them to hear my voice in the exam. I know that's pretty painful. Why would I wish such a fate on someone? But hear my voice in the exam asking these questions. What's your shortest sentence? Read out the first word in each sentence. If they're all very similar, then you need a bit more variety there. Have you got 4 punctuation points? Read out the 3 words you're most proud of that you've used so far. If you have these things in the back of your mind constantly through every piece of writing, then your writing will naturally improve. Okay, again, like pause the screen and take notes as you wish. Okay, how to structure a short story, the narrative piece. Well, nobody specifically asked me for this, but I thought I'd drop this in here anyway. you could use Todorow's narrative theory, which states, and you don't need to know that, just that there are 5 stages to each story. There's the equilibrium, that's easy for me to say, where everything is as it should be at the start. And that's the kind of the exposition, the setting the scene. Then something happens where that equilibrium is disturbed, a disruption, there's a problem arises, and something goes wrong for the main character. Now, you haven't got a huge amount of time to write this, so keep your main character down to 1 or 2. Don't and try not to have the action of the story take place over a long period of time. It's more difficult. You keep it kind of more concentrated. It allows you to add in more detail, more depth, and engage the reader on a deeper level. The 3rd stage of Todorow's narrative theory is the realization. So the main character understands it, is aware that something's gone wrong, and then there's that chaos, that disorganization, that trauma as a result of this going wrong, before the 4th stage, which is where there's an attempt by the main character to restore the order, ease the disruption, solve the problem. And once that's done, there's what's called restored equilibrium, where everything either goes back to normal or there's a new equilibrium established, so a new order of how things are, and there's the end of your story. Okay, might be useful for you. Hopefully it is. I won't say might not be useful. It's good. It's valuable. Okay, so that's the language. And again, I know I'm being very broad and generic here, but do please, as I said, message in to Sophia and ask her if you've got or with any more specific questions that you might have in mind, and I'll happily deal with them and tackle them in more depth one by one. Literature. Now, who have I got to thank for the literature? I think it's S. Silapal or Opal again. Sorry again if I'm making a mess of your name, your Twitter handle. So, literature. What do you need to cover in each text? Right. So, as an examiner, the examiners are looking for you to demonstrate 2 things. One is your understanding of the text. Okay, you need to know the text really well. And that's like your character, your theme, your plot, and so on, wider context. And the second thing they're looking for you to do is to demonstrate your ability to analyse a text with a specific question in mind. So don't just rehash the story in the exam. You've got a specific question. So, you might have your PETAL, your point evidence technique, analysis link, or P2C, point evidence technique, explanation, reader or audience impact and context. Whatever mnemonic you use, you need to ensure that you're analysing, you're not just telling the story. And I'll put in brackets there my buzz phrase, method and meaning. Okay, so to understand or to demonstrate your understanding of each text, you should ensure that you revise all the main characters and themes. So, for example, in Macbeth, 3 main characters to revise: Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, and the witches. To a lesser extent, Duncan, Banquo, and Macduff. And then the main themes, I've written down ambition, appearance and reality, the supernatural, bravery and courage, power, violence. There are other themes. Now you can focus on 3 or 4 of those. Inspector Calls, all 6 main characters plus Eva Smith. Themes, responsibility, class, gender, age. Okay, and you can do the same for your, if you just do a little Google search on it, whatever, if you've done Merchant of Venice or you're doing DNA or whatever it is you're studying, just like key themes or key characters in whatever text is, and you'll get plenty of information pop up on the screen there. Okay, so taking that a little bit further, how do you revise each character and theme? Well, I've taken Inspector Calls. You don't have to get an image, you just get your an A3 sheet or an A4 sheet, however you wish. Write down the name of the character or theme in the centre, and then kind of brainstorm, mind map around that. So things to bear in mind. Adjectives to describe this character. So Inspector Gould, look at these stage directions at the start. He need not be a big man, but he creates at once an impression of massiveness, solidity and purposefulness. So he's dominant, he's a strong character, he's representing Priestley's socialist views on stage, he's Priestley's mouthpiece, if you like. You can drop that down in what is their role in the story. What is the inspector's role? Well, he's there to ensure that the Burlings take responsibility. He shines a light on what they've done. He wants them to take responsibility for their actions. What key quotations? I'd immediately, top of my head, go straight to his final speech. Millions and millions and millions of Eva Smiths and John Smiths and so on. How do they link with other characters? Well, the Inspector Gould is quite easy there. He links with every other character. He's the voice for Eva Smith. and then he interviews or interrogates one by one each of the characters, the Burlings plus Gerald. And how does he link to key theme? Well, okay, he's Priestley's mouthpiece, so he represents Priestley's socialist ideals. He takes on the challenge of showing or highlighting the flaws in the self-centered capitalist views of the Burlings and so on. Okay, and you just think any character in there, you ask these particular questions for each character, same with the themes, and there's your kind of covering everything you'd need to there. I don't know if I've got explode a quotation on. So you could do the same thing. You could write a quotation in the middle of the page, and then you could link that to theme and character and plot development and so on, and context if necessary. Okay, so that's how a few bits of advice in terms of how you can revise for character and theme, and also quotations. Okay, what's the best way to remember quotes? And then this is my favourite Twitter handle, DXYGU. Again, if that is a name, I'm sorry. What's the best way to remember quotes? Okay, first thing to say is do not set unrealistic targets. Literature is a real pain of a subject in terms of memory. You've got to memorise everything. This is why I've left the poetry anthology alone for now. I'm going to do a separate video for that, because you've got 15 poems and it's kind of humanly impossible to memorise all of that on top of everything else and on top of all the other subjects you've got to do also. So first thing, do not set unrealistic targets. Okay, if you're incorporating 3 or 4 quotations into your exam question, that's absolutely ample, that's perfect. Okay, so breaking it down a little bit further. For each theme and character, select up to 5. Now, if you're clever or lucky, you will notice that some quotes can be used for more than one area. For example, in Macbeth, you could link the witch is fair is foul and foul is fair to, obviously, the witches themselves, the supernatural as a theme, appearance and reality as a theme, characters of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth as well. So that one quotation you can put into several different lists. So you won't need, a full 5 quotations different quotations in each area. A bit of advice that parents don't really thank me for: post-it notes, stick them everywhere. Doors, mirrors, light switches, wherever you spend a bit of time, stick some post-it notes up on the if you've got a notice board. Don't ruin your paintwork at home or whatever, or things like that. But I even like on your digital post-it notes, your screensavers, put some key quotations there. Use flashcards. On one side, write the full quote, then on the other side, just write the key words. Then the way you use those flashcards, step 1, 2, and 3. Step 1, read and memorise the side with the full quote until you think you've got it, and then test it. So then you just use the other side, so with the keywords, and that might prompt you to remember the whole quotation. And then when you think you've got that covered, you've got that mastered, put the cards down and test yourself. And this is great. You can use family, friends to test you on this as well. Okay, again, I do the same thing with my own daughter. She loves it. Maybe not. Okay, so look, I've covered the main areas that you guys have requested. I've not gone into too much detail. Hopefully you've found something useful within what I've done. But please do, again, I'm repeating myself, I apologise. Send a little message into Sophia with anything specific you have, and with Sophia's permission, I'll be absolutely delighted to give it a lot more detailed analysis, like I will do with the poetry anthology questions. And again, I realise that you're doing different exam boards and different themes within that. You've got your powers and conflict, you've got your love and relationships, and they're different from exam board to exam board. So it is quite difficult to kind of pin it down, but I will do my best. So again, look, just a reminder, head on over to Mr. H Online. There's plenty of free resources there. You can sign up and become a member, where you get a free member, where you get the weekly or bi-weekly updates from me with more revision tips and so on. Or become a proper member and gain access to all the video lessons and quizzes and revision tasks and so on. Texts I've covered so far, and this is again across every exam board: Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet and the Spectacles, Jekyll and Hyde and A Christmas Carol. I'm working on A Merchant of Venice at the moment. But again, happy to receive any requests for specific questions that you might want answering and so on. Okay, best of luck in your revision, and happy studying.
And that that is how to revise for English language and literature. Like Martin said, poetry wasn't included in this video, but it will be on a separate video very soon that we're currently working on. So that will be up very soon and I'll keep you up to date. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to leave it a thumbs up so I know. And if you are new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the post notification bell so you know when I'm uploading. I'm going to be filming a how to revise for geography and for media videos very soon, because they're two subjects that I did at GCSE and now at A level. So if you have anything that you'd like me to include in either of those videos, please send me a DM on Instagram, leave a comment below, or send me a message on Twitter. Either way, just let me know what you want to see in that, and that'll be coming very, very soon. But yeah, like I said, make sure to subscribe and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!